Hi friends! I am Becky of thepinksamurai.com and I'm back with another Enamel Pins 101 video for you today. Today we are going to be talking about producing your pins. So I'm going to talk about kind of the cost that goes into it and working with a middlewoman or middleman and working factory direct. So exciting stuff today! Okay, so the first thing to talk about is kind of what adds to the cost of your pin. So you have the MOQ, or minimum order quantity, which is generally 100 for most all manufacturers. Most of them want 100. Some of them will let you do 100 with a couple of different color variants in there, which is something to think about. You can vary the metal finishes, or you can vary the enamel in there. So that's something to talk about if you're not super into getting 100 of one design. The other things that affect the price are how many colors you use. So kind of a standard that goes into it is 5 colors. Generally anything over 5 colors ends up costing extra for a manufacturer or for a middlewoman. Cutouts in the shape of the mold, that goes into the price of it, and that's something I talked about in the last video, so be sure to check that out. I'll have links below to all that good stuff. So if you have a lot of cutouts, if you have an intricate design around the side or have any holes in the middle, that adds because it's a little bit more cost to making the mold. Back imprints. So if you want to get your logo, like you should, on the back, it does cost extra, but it's totally worth it because you want people to know where they got the pin. And I always think it's worth it to have that. And if there are any extra fancy clutch types, so the little piece that goes on the back, I like to do the standard rubber. Sometimes they have fancy colors and things like that, which are fun, and some people actually get custom shapes made, which is really fun, but can also be super expensive, and that has a crazy MOQ. So that's probably something for when you're feeling a little advanced, but just know that those are kind of the things that add to your price, just standard to know. So let's talk about working with a middlewoman or a middleman. My favorite, which I will tell you, is the pin department. She's a dear friend of mine, love her husband. They are amazing human beings, and without her help, I would not have the business that I have now. She is incredible, and if you mention me, I do get a credit in her shop. I'm just saying, you don't have to mention me. I would recommend her all day, every day to anyone. So she's great. Now, working with a middlewoman or middleman, it does cost more per pin because you are paying for their time and their expertise. They're the ones that are going back and forth to the factories. They're the ones that are staying up late, talking on China time. They're the ones that are kind of helping you set up your files and do all of the communication. They get the pins in. Sometimes they even offer backing card design and packaging stuff too, which is crazy. So that adds to the cost, but you can also think about how much time that's going to save you. And I work factory direct a lot now, but if I have something that I know I need quickly, or something that's kind of a little bit out of my wheelhouse, I'm kind of stretching my legs and doing something new and different, I would definitely go to her and be like, help me. And she is amazing and patient. But know that, get all your ducks in a row before you talk to a middlewoman or a middleman, because they are working really, really hard. So knowing what you want, having the artwork, looking back at my last video and kind of setting up your files correctly, all that stuff will help them tremendously in the process. So yeah, thepindepartment.com, amazing. Okay, so finding a factory to work with directly can be difficult, and it can be daunting, and it can be very overwhelming when you see how many there are out there. But if you go on Alibaba, just look up some places. You might be able to get samples from them, which is really great. You might be able to try out a couple of different places with some pin ideas that you have just to compare. And I think that's really great. I got mine off of Alibaba, and I really love them. When it comes to sharing manufacturers, a lot of pin makers are a little hesitant to do that just because we've seen the industry grow so much. And we have seen, like, personally, the factory that I use used to have a 2-week turnaround time, and that was kind of standard for them. And in the last year, it's grown to a 4-week turnaround time. And I have seen the quality go down on some of them, and I've had to reorder or get replacements, and that's all just because of how much business they're getting. And that's great, they're getting business. I'm really glad that there are so many pin makers out there. I think, you know, a rising tide raises all ships kind of a thing. So everyone can do well, and I really think there's room for everyone. But when you're thinking about asking someone about their manufacturer, just kind of think about, do you know this person personally? You know, would you go hang out with them? Would you trust your kids with them? Like, it's really personal information, because a lot of people have gone through a lot of work to find their manufacturers, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and possibly lost money. So I think respecting that, and really, yeah, just respecting someone else's work and time before asking them. And, you know, I've asked friends before who they've used, and with no expectation that they tell me at all. It would not hurt my feelings at all if they were like, you know what, don't really feel comfortable sharing that, kind of have a holy grail here, you know, and that's totally fine. Completely get it. So if someone doesn't write back to your inquiry, then just don't get your feelings hurt, and just kind of move on and try and find something on your own. Alibaba is definitely the best place to look, and I'm actually going to be sharing my personal stuff in an upcoming e-course that I'm working on, so stay tuned for that. I'll have a lot more information than I'm even sharing here in these videos now in that, so it's kind of crazy. But yeah, really trial and error, and just take it one at a time. Try not to get overwhelmed. You know, take a couple hours, scroll through Alibaba. That's really the best place to look for pin makers in China, and see if there's anything you like. See if they have good reviews. See if they even have sample pins of people that you know. You know, I've seen that before, which is crazy. I will say the one thing that drew me to my personal factory is that they are very into protecting intellectual property. And as someone who has had pin designs stolen, which is super exciting, that's very important to me to know that the factory will not let anyone else use that mold except for me. So that's just kind of one thing to look out for too. So I'm sorry I can't be too much more help than that, but I think that's a good place to start. And if you have anyone you trust, definitely let them know that you're interested in knowing who they use, but don't expect to, like, don't feel bad if they don't want to tell you, because a lot of people don't. And just starting out, I really, really, really do recommend working with a middle person. Just because they can help you wade the waters, and really see if it's something you want to do, and really help you out in your designs too. So you've got your middlewoman, you're working with your factory, and you send them the awesome little template that I gave you in the last video, and then you get your mocks back. So they will send you basically their own version of an Illustrator mock, and some of them are a little bit different. I have one that has a big kind of spreadsheet of stuff that breaks down all the prices. And, like, you know, back imprint is this much, these are the clutches, this is the thickness, this is the size, you know, all that stuff, which I kind of love. And others will just send you the piece of artwork, and then the Pantone colors and any other extra details that you might have. And that is where you want to look. Make sure your colors look okay. Make sure things didn't get squirrely. Make sure they didn't flip any colors, things like that. And once you like your mock, then you tell them, heck yeah, and usually a lot of them use PayPal. I just send money through PayPal for them. I pay for it that way. And then you wait, and generally it'll take, I think right now the standard is like 4 weeks, so it'll take about a month. Some are shorter. If you see people that offer, 12-day turnaround, do it. It's awesome. But I generally tend to wait. It depends on how complicated your stuff is and how many you order and stuff like that. So generally I like to plan for about a month to wait, which I think is fine. So yeah, it's a pretty easy process. If there's something you don't like, then tell them you need to switch something. Don't feel bad about going back and saying, actually, I'd like to do it this way. And in that process, if you see something like, if you see them show that a spot will have recessed metal and you don't like it there, that gives you time to go back and adjust your artwork and send a new one, and then they'll send a new mock, and then it can go back and forth for a little bit. But you do it until it's perfect. Do it until you feel good about it, because it is your final product and it's your art. So don't feel bad about going back a couple of times, but be courteous, be nice, be professional in your correspondence, because that goes a long way. But yeah, you get your mock, you approve it, and you send them money, and then you wait, and then the glorious day comes when your pins get there, and it's awesome. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and give it a like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and check me out at thepinksamurai.com. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you can shoot me a note on Instagram, you can comment down below, and I'm happy to answer them for you. Thanks!